Everybody- Good evening, everybody. I want to welcome you. It's our March 28th, 2022. This is a special Board of Education meeting, and we are calling the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. And if you would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag is over here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Reading of the meeting notice. This meeting is being conducted in compliance with the open meeting session that the Verona Board of Education passed a resolution at its annual reorganization meeting held on January 4th, 2022. The meeting set forth the schedule of its regular meetings, which resolution was within 7 days of passage. The schedule is sent to the Verona Cedar Grove Times, the Star Ledger, the Township of Verona, and the VEA. Postings of this meeting setting forth the time, location, and agenda were posted at the Verona Board of Education office and on the Verona Public Schools District website. The Verona Board of Education operates under a consent agenda format. Any board member has the right to have an item pulled to be voted upon or discussed separately. Copies of tonight's agenda and resolutions have been made available to the public and the press. Mr. Cruz, can you please do a roll call for attendance?
Sure. Mr. Walker.
Present.
Mr. Day.
Here.
Mrs. Strappi.
Here.
Mrs. Prisco.
Here.
Mrs. Fresky.
Here.
We have quorum. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we have no presentations this evening, and we are going to open up. We just have basically resolutions. So we're going to open up to public comments on the agenda items for action items. So if anybody has a public comment, to please come to the podium. We need your name, address, and we're limited to 3 minutes per speaker.
Hello, my name is Nicholas Fierro. I live on 10 Ravine Road. I was Verona High School class of 2017. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm speaking before you this evening to voice my stalwart opposition to the board's proposal to hire diversity, equity, and inclusion firm Grand River Solutions. While many townsmen have voiced concerns pertaining to the reckless spending this contract would require, the fact of the matter is that if this were a strong ethical proposition, no one would have an issue putting up the funds. The real essence of the issue at hand is that diversity, equity, and inclusion training and its foundational curriculum is bad. While the buzzwords in the title seem compassionate and welcoming, the radicalism embedded beneath this shroud is beyond concerning. These organizations pride themselves on teaching students they're inherently racist, encouraging children to explore backwards gender ideology, and insisting that masculinity is toxic. Grand River Solutions is a hyper-partisan organization looking to infiltrate our community with left-wing radicalism. Of course, myself, as well as every other citizen of this town, would like our institutions to be free from racism and bullying. However, this is not what DEI is about. It's about an agenda. And Grand River will not hold back the progressive politics from the conversation. They can't. DEI training is predicated on the very basis that meritocracy is a racist principle. The students in our school have the right to the most competent and effective instructors. However, this proposition signals that our administrators care more about fulfilling melanin quotas than providing our children with an exceptional education. It isn't an accident that these activists place a supreme emphasis on equity, a precept that actively undermines competence and merit-based outcomes. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a play taken straight from the book of Karl Marx's Communist Manifesto, a poisonous and destructive ideology that has brought down entire nations. But perhaps the most outrageous matter of all seems to be that this school board has explicitly acknowledged the radicalism at Grand River Solutions, yet is continuing to pursue the deal. In a February meeting, a courageous Verona resident called out Tibisay Hernandez of Grand River for her public comments referring to Trump supporters, and I quote, "Vanilla ISIS, I have the documents." Our own school board moved to condemn Hernandez, claiming her statements misaligned with the district's core values. However, Hernandez remains a high-level manager with this firm, and despite the district's actions to distance themselves from her, she continues to shape the firm's curriculum. This is preposterous, despicable. The Grand River proposal is a virtue signaling guise for left-wing radicalism. One might even call it a Trojan horse. Now, I can only hope that our elected officials have the courage and wisdom to stand up to this objectively corrupt institution. It is your moral, civic, and theological duty to do so. I would like you to look at these documents before voting. Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you. Thank you. We have another speaker at the podium, please.
Hi there, my name's Reese Sahato. I'm a sophomore at Verona High School. You remember me from the last meeting. I'm just here to say that I still support the board's initiative to align themselves with the diversity, equity, and inclusion program. As a student in Verona High School, I'll be one of the people most affected by this decision. Sorry, I'm a little out of breath. I just came from across school in a meeting. I'm sure you'll remember the remarks made by other students at the last meeting. I'm sorry, I literally just printed. But yeah, you'll remember how they spoke about their experiences in the schools. And I'm sure we all want our administrators and advisors to be as well prepared as possible to deal with these challenges. And right now, we are in need of a third party to advise and guide our administrators and officials within the school board. And I'm sure you all know that, and that's why you're considering it tonight. I'm sorry, I'm very out of breath, but yeah, I just want to say that you've seen the support of the students, the people most affected, and I hope you know that I still support you in this initiative. Thank you.
Very much.
Guys vote. The 20
Name and address, please.
Derek Chupak, 7 Doral Street, hasn't changed. You guys are giving $25,000 to Grand River Solutions. That's what you're voting on for 2021, 2022. Isn't that school year already over? Are we going to give them another $25,000 next year too? Why are we spending the money on that? And I'm curious, maybe by a show of hands, which one of you board members are prejudiced against whoever they consider vanilla? No hands? Because you're voting in a company that clearly didn't handle the situation properly. She still works there. She's still going to oversee the DEI initiative. So raise your hands. Which one of you believe in calling white people vanilla? No? We should also figure out if the $25,000 is worth spending this year.
Thank you very much for your comments. Are there other comments on any of the action items that we'll be voting on tonight? No, if not. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see.
I wasn't expecting to get right into this, but Casey Harris, I'm a teacher at the high school. I guess I just wanted to state that diversity, equity, inclusion initiatives are about how learning how to ensure that everyone in an organization has their voice heard equally, regardless of race, gender, physical ability, or sexual orientation. I think we might like to think that we've mastered this, but there are subtle and sometimes not so subtle ways that certain voices in our community are marginalized. It's usually not any one person in the organization's fault. And so the problem and solution aren't always entirely clear. The most valuable tool we have is education. We can listen, we can try to learn. This is the role that a DEI consultant can fill. I strongly support the decision to hire a DEI consultant. Speaking as a teacher at Verona High School, I know that we as a staff will benefit from it. It's not a significant portion of the budget. I don't think, not that that's where I'm an expert, but I worry about an argument about a certain person or a certain consultant not being a fit for the community, because I think that's just an argument that can be made again and again and again. Anytime we try to move forward and make some progress in this arena and give some services to some of the marginalized people in our community, it's an argument that can be brought up again. Oh, it's not the right fit. And so I really think that the time is now to move forward on it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Jubek, I'm sorry.
This is one of our teachers.
I'm sorry.
You
You already had your moment to speak. I'm
clearly
sorry.
brought to light
Elton, you
that-
could cut his mic, please. You had your opportunity to speak. You can't speak again until everybody has an opportunity to speak.
Sir.
Maria Squilanti, 6 Belclair. Last meeting, students, teachers, and parents came in support of the hiring of this DEI firm. I'm frankly disappointed that the board did not find it necessary to set the record straight on what has actually transpired here in the last few months. For starters, the parents who oppose DEI, the ones who support spending taxpayer money more wisely, the watchdogs, actually performed an invaluable contribution to this process, but the board did not feel it was necessary to set the record straight. The first firm, we vetted ourselves. They had a consultant who posted things like this: white educators, people teaching Black, Indigenous children of color about grit is laughable and racist. Approximately 5 days, 12 hours and 17 minutes, a few D pics later, me and my spirit guides decided it was just not for me. Seattle, 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 being the change they wish to see in this world. Thank you. Hashtag start with Seattle. Hashtag defund the police. The Grand River Solutions firm we're seriously considering voting in today has a rep who has since been bounced off the project, who thinks that saying things like this is okay. The reality is our kids are looking at us like, see, I told you this school crap is for the birds. I'm in 5th grade again, and I realize I don't use fractions in real life. Their teaching strategies can't be mine because I don't understand how they're teaching this stuff. That's fabulous. Alicia Garza just called these Trump supporters vanilla ISIS, laughing my, please use this everywhere. Clear language on slavery, and I'll just start with these. Slave catchers equals police. Overseers equals torturers. Discipline equals torture and murder. Profit equals theft. Profit like the profit that your consulting firm will be making from this project. We're not supposed to question that. This is all turning into like about DEI. It's not about DEI. It's about who you're bringing into this district. You're not vetting anybody. This lady, Jody Shipper, who's taking care of this project from now on, is a lawyer. She does sexual harassment suits. She has no experience in K through 12. This is a firm that's been around since 2018 for 3 years. Amazing. And then the best part is we harangue and hector the board by asking questions at meetings and in emails. These are the questions we asked. How is this account going to be handled virtually and from California? Why aren't we taking advantage of the 6 internal DEI committees already in place instead of going outside? 2 meetings ago, you mentioned that inclusivity includes special needs students. That's not in the contract. The GRS proposal still states that it will conduct interviews and focus groups, including all stakeholders. Then, at one of the meetings, the superintendent said they would not. Then, in an email, one of the directors said they would. And in a board meeting on March 8th, the board stated that no one would be forced to be in these focus groups or surveys. What's the final decision? Are we just supposed to sit back and take this all in the name of diversity, equity, and inclusion? This is a train wreck of a process.
Thank you.
My name is Brooke Orris. I live at 66 Woodland Avenue. I have one child in the school system, one child who will soon be in the school system. And first, let me say that diversity, equity, and inclusion are important. They are an ongoing process and one that we need to work towards in every way. No, I'm not going to talk about my kids. That would violate their privacy. But I can tell you that if this had been around 30 years ago, my childhood might have been very different. You know, the last meeting I was at a school was for math. There were like 3 people there. I wish I saw this kind of passion about math class, but no, it's. Okay, glad to know everybody knows what's going on in the district here. So really, first, it's important. Second, it's not that big a deal, people.
Thank you very much.
Hello, Joe Haggerty, 44 Morningside Road. I wasn't going to come up and speak tonight. It's nice to see everybody. But just as a response, it's not that big a deal. Thank you for speaking for my kids. I appreciate that. This is a huge deal. We are talking about an organization that we know has blatantly racist individuals as a part of their company. They're in California and they're going to teach our kids how to be diverse and equal and inclusionary. And I think there's a big disconnection too. We are not saying that we don't think that DEI is important. We are saying that the people that you have spoken to are garbage and they're not very good. And we've done our research, okay? And by the way, still haven't gotten an answer on the books. That's 2 months. I'm waiting. I keep checking my emails. So that's where we have to meet. I think we have to talk together and say both sides do agree that DEI is important, but it's the people that you're bringing in that are just not fit to do it. And that's where we are. And that's where we don't want to spend that money. But it's not that we're against DEI. We know this is important for our kids. We do, but it's just the people. That's all I'll say. Have a good night.
Very much. Are there any other comments on action items?
Hi, Gabrielle Zabrowski, One Valhalla Way. So as you know, my son is in the ESS program. I know Charlie knows that. He suffers from anxiety. He struggles in a variety of ways, socially and emotionally. Last week, we heard from students in the high school, so I thought it would be nice to hear from a middle schooler. Last fall, he was involved in an HIB. A student went to her counselor and accused my son of saying a racist statement towards her Hispanic heritage. This is what my son told me to say. A girl in my grade made up lies to a school counselor. She said that I said something really bad and racist about Hispanic people. She told one person and then told another and then another. It spread around the entire 5th grade. And then it spread to the 6th grade. Made a lot of people mad at me. Some of the 6th graders even FaceTimed me, accusing me, and kept telling me, you said something racist, even though I told them I didn't say anything racist. I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't understand why. It made me lose a lot of my 5th grade friends. Then a week later, that girl went to the school counselor and said she made it up. She was mad at me. But it's not right, because there are still people who weren't told she made it up, and they're still mad at me and still think I'm racist. So I ask, how is a racially incentivizing our students, which I believe DEI does, I understand it can help in some aspects. How is this helping students in this capacity? It doesn't. My son still is getting things on social media accusing him. How do we remedy this? Racism is absolutely rampant in the schools. How is it possible students are making up racist, well, making things up that are not racist? How is that possible? Wouldn't it just be there for a student just to have and use? So I thought you should hear from a middle schooler. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other comments on agenda items? If not, I am going. What is that? I'm sorry. Sure, if nobody else, you can approach a second time.
Okay. No, I just wanted to say, based on that anecdote, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is that makes me think of a lot of the complex situations that our students of color have gotten themselves into, where they feel that same way, maybe 10 or 20 times over. And I really do feel for the experience that this woman's son also had. I think it's really challenging as a school to deal with issues where slurs are used or where different people are involved and having their feelings hurt. And it's hard in a school setting. In a private company, you could fire someone. In a school setting, it's challenging. So a situation like that, in a situation, like I said, 20, 30, 100 times over for our students of color, as a staff, it would be so helpful for us to have a third-party consultant advise us on creating systems to deal with these types of situations. And that's, I'll leave it at that. Thanks.
Very much.
Just need a second real quick.
Just restate your name, please.
Reese Sahato, sophomore at VHS, 105 Fairview Avenue. Okay, so you've heard about the concerns of students. I believe it was about 10 of us last time. Oh, sorry, sprinted back. We've been watching on live stream. I've been sprinting back and forth. You've heard the concerns of 10 students detailing their experiences within the school district. It's very obvious that while we have made great progress and Verona is dedicated to making that progress, it still needs guidance as to the right steps to take. And this is what a program like the DEI initiative could provide. That's a necessary tool. And I think that this community, as was said before, would not put a price on the well-being and safety of their students, especially since the purpose of the Board of Education is to provide an environment where all students can flourish, learn, and grow and feel safe. Oh, sorry, safe and included while they do so. I know you'll make the right decision when it comes to this and to the well-being of your students who have spoken about their concerns, their experiences, and what they believe you should do in the course of action you should take. Thank you for hearing us out these past few nights. We appreciate it deeply.
Very much.
Hi, everyone. My name is Joseph Fierro, 10 Ravine Road. I am a product of the Verona school system. I think you guys did a pretty good job on teaching me to respect other people and be fair with everyone else and the golden rule and all that. I don't really see why you guys have to pay $25K for a company to tell you to do that for 3 months. But it's not about equality. You guys keep saying diversity, equity, and inclusion. Like my brother highlighted, this whole equity thing is going against meritocracy. It's not about equality. Someone who's still on this board, this Jody Shipper, we have a bunch of her tweets that we were looking at. Doesn't really seem to equal to me, saying that men are too emotional to be president. That's something that she retweeted. And like my brother said, very hyper partisan. Reposting something from George Takei saying that the only agenda that Trump has managed to further while in office, not GOP healthcare, not tax reform, nor infrastructure, just Nazis. I really wouldn't want to have a group of people who considers half of our town Nazis telling us how to act. Thank you very much.
Very much.
Hi, I'm Abby Miller. I'm a senior at Verona. I live at 70 Beach Avenue. I just want to say that a lot of the tweets that have been mentioned are taken out of context, and you shouldn't take those over the contextualized experiences of students you've heard from, students of color, gay kids, trans kids, special ed kids. DEI it will make so many people feel safer. It'll let them have a better experience at the school, and it'll help the administration be more prepared to deal with the incidents that we always hear about arising. The amount of things I've heard in the hallways that just, yeah, they're bad. If DEI can educate everyone involved, and I won't be here next year, but I think that everyone else who will be here next year and the year after that and the year after that, they deserve to feel safe at a place where they spend so much of their time. They need to feel safe around their teachers, administrators, and their fellow students. And there shouldn't be a price on that. And so I really hope that you continue to listen to the experiences of students who are marginalized and who face these problems all the time over someone who doesn't like to be called vanilla. Thank you.
Very much. Are there any other comments? If not, we are going to close public comment.
Hi, Gary Pearl, 78 Linwood Road. I've been teaching for over 30 years, and I've seen a lot of programs come and go. But this particular program, and I believe in DEI and all that and all equity, but this particular program by this particular people is very, very toxic. And you really have to be very careful what type of program that you're going to use here. Maybe reach out to other school districts and see what they use. But this program in particular is extremely toxic. And to just say that this is for DEI, it's not right. DEI is extremely important, but this program is toxic and it's coming from 30 years of teaching. And again, I've seen very programs come and go, and you got to be very, very careful. So please, please think twice, maybe even table this. But this particular program is very, very toxic. Thank you.
Very much. Yep. So at this point, we are going to close public comment and just move on with our regular agenda. And board, do you have any discussion items that you wanted to bring up? Or should we just, Mrs. Prisco? Okay, so if there's no discussion items, we're going to move to call the vote on resolutions. And we are going to, I'm going to move to have resolution number 1, which is the Grand River Solution Resolution, to be voted upon separately. I need a motion for resolution number 1.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Waka,
Second.
second by Mr. Day. And is there any discussion around this? If not, Mr. Cruz, can you
Well,
please do?
I want to make a comment.
Oh, go ahead.
So, thanks everybody for coming out tonight. I just want to make a comment before the vote, knowing, this is, I love having the folks come out and talk about what's going on in our town. I feel the passion. I feel how important it is to individuals. But end of the day, we're one community. We're one community working together. To me, the DEI is a critical component to talk about as a group, as a town. I know the town has their own DEI committee, and we have a DEI committee that we were very supportive of putting a committee together with subgroups. So for me, that's important. But I think one of the things, and I know Dr. Fenari met with the town, I believe on the 23rd. So for me, that was important to make sure that we're talking to the town and the town's talking to the schools. And we're also, I believe Dr. Fenari spoke with the police. So to me, that was very critical to make sure that we're all understanding that we have a goal together as a town, as a community. A couple of things and concerns that I had mentioned to the board. First of all, was the DEI review, again, should be a townwide committee discussion, and it shouldn't just be for the schools. Again, we're making a decision tonight. Again, important decision. We also have a new superintendent that's going to be starting. And to me, I know Dr. Fernari and the administration's done a great job of, done a job of trying to find folks or consultants that will do DEI, consulting for us. Right now, with the new superintendent coming on board, it's going to be an ongoing project. It's something that you need to have your new superintendent talk to your administrator, staff, and talk about how to move forward together to meet those DEI initiative goals. Another thing that we have that amazing group of parents and students and community members and staff that volunteered to be on these DEI committees. I don't think we've leveraged those committees at all and really taken advantage of getting information from those folks. We have people in this town that potentially could be consultants to assist us. So again, another thing that I was really, thought about when I was, going back and forth in my mind about, this vote, because it's a very important vote. I've been on this board for 8 years. This is probably one of the toughest votes I've had to make tonight. It's important to me because it affects a lot of people. And again, it's a consultant. They're just coming here to check, on our culture and diversity and the DEI initiative that we have. But to me, I feel the passion of everyone out there. But my biggest concern, and I talked to the board about it, was the fact that Grand River's in California. To me, to have a consultant talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, for me to have somebody try to do consulting via Zoom. Now, granted, they said they would come on site. They never committed how many times. For me to have these conversations, I do Zoom all the time. I'm a software sales guy. I can't stand Zoom. I don't know. I was joking around with the crowd. I was like, I'll be doing a presentation. People could be sitting there putting their fingers in their ears and jumping up and down. I wouldn't know that. So for me, it's very important that be able to have folks that are local. So for me, I believe the DEI initiative is very important to do something. I think, out of this whole country, there's has to be DEI consultant in the New York metro area that we could work with, that could be on site, that could work with us, could work with the team, work with our new superintendent. So again, I'm just throwing things out there. But for me, to have a consultant based in California who initially is going to start out doing Zoom meetings to talk about very critical items for our district is concerning to me. So I just want to throw it out there to the board and to the public. That's my thoughts. But again, it's a critical initiative for the Board of Ed, for the administration. I mean, again, we just vote on what the administration recommends. They're recommending, Grand Rapid. So, or Grand River, sorry. A lot of pressure talking. But end of the day, it's very important to the board. But again, we're just, voting on what has been recommended by the administration. But those are my concerns.
I'd like to just follow up with that. Thank you, Jim. I'd like to thank in particular our students for coming out and everyone for coming out to speak on this. And you know, gives us an opportunity to really listen to all sides. I agree with Jim in that my concern about somebody coming from, you know, California being able to meet our needs. We've been assured by Dr. Fernari after her conversations with Jody Shipper that there will be opportunities to meet in person. But I think, you know, a concern about someone from California being able to meet our needs. I mean, this is a global issue. It's not just Verona specific. This is, you know, an issue that relates to all aspects of life. So I don't think it's specific or endemic to Verona for that matter. And I think it's equally important, as important to have an objective outside point of view, someone that's not from Verona, someone that doesn't, that can objectively look at our community and get that data from our community based on surveys and conversations, therefore leveraging our subcommittees as well as the community at large, and look at that data qualitatively and quantitatively, and therefore just give us recommendations. This is just a starting point. You know, in any marathon, you can't start running right off the bat. You can't run a 7-minute mile, you know, right off the bat. You need to start somewhere and take your time and pace yourself. And I think that's exactly what the proposal outlines, is giving us a starting line from where to start, and then allowing us to sort of look at the big picture situation and pick and choose what we need to work on. I mean, it's not a program per se, right? There's no program being outlined. It's just suggestions for now. So I understand the concerns, and I did share some of those concerns. But I think overall, from a hiring and recruitment standpoint, and from a culture and climate standpoint, that I think Grand River is the right solution for us.
So if I could jump in, I believe it was a staff member that asked or said that, you know, she wanted a fresh set of eyes to advise them. What should be noted is that that's not what's going to happen here. No third party is going to come in and advise our teachers what to teach or how to teach. They're going to make recommendations to this board. And those recommendations are going to be given around June 30th. And I'm a proponent of saying, let's look at those a la carte. But the new superintendent is going to take a look at those recommendations if she wants to share them with the board for approval, or which I'm sure she will. But it's just a set of recommendations that we could choose to implement, or we could choose not to. I think that there is the belief with some people, I don't want to generalize, that they're going to make recommendations towards what goes on in the curriculum, and then somehow that's what's going to happen. That can't happen that way. Any curriculum that's already been board approved, that's what we're essentially paying and then asking our teachers to teach. But if there is going to be a recommendation to update or change anything within any pre-existing curriculum, this board must vote yes to that change. I'm someone that has a great deal of experience writing curriculum. I know exactly where to look to see what changes or edits may have been put in. If it gets to a point where there's something that I don't think is reasonable for the kids, my son or anyone else's son or daughter to be doing in their class, I will vote no for that, and I'll do it publicly. But we're just going to get, the other thing that I find attractive about this is that it's not mandatory. You know, I think we've seen firsthand just how illogical mandates are, you know, through COVID and other things. But this is the kind of thing that, you know, if students want to be part of some kind of discussion group, you know, mom or dad could say yes to that, or they could say no. But no one's really being forced to do anything. And then we're going to take a look at a group of recommendations. And as far as the, you know, the money, this is less than 1% of 1% of 1% of our total operating budget. And as a board member, you know, I'm not going to look to tell the district that, you know, this $20,000 is too much to spend on something that the district wants to put on an agenda. When, you know, I've seen board meetings where you have $375,000, you know, educational solutions vendors, and no one bats an eye about that. So I think that, you know, for it not being mandatory, for nothing that can change in the curriculum without it going through this board and voting yes on those changes, and a set of recommendations. I don't see this as something that's, terribly unreasonable.
Thank you, Mrs. Freshy. Good evening all, and thank you all for coming out, and thank you for the students that were here last week on Tuesday evening. Since Tuesday evening, I have been thinking and thinking and thinking. And I'm going to get a little more personal. I wasn't going to, but I am, just because of what Mrs. Zabrowski spoke of. I was in tears of little Tegan in the middle school. I had my own issues, and my problem with Grand Rivers is Tibesay was one, and then they're promised that she will not be involved in the process. I don't believe that. And so my problem with them is my vote is going to be no for them. I'm not voting against having DEI come into our schools to help our students. What we need to do is help all of our students, whether what color you are. Every student needs to be represented by our community. I had my own personal issue with my son, and I wasn't going to bring it up. But back in September of 2020, my son was called a racist. He was called white privileged. He was called a cop lover because he supports his uncle, who's a Verona police officer. He was called a lowlife, and he was also told he would go nowhere in life. How does that feel for a board member to sit up here and not say anything at all, because I'm a board member? It was very difficult. I told my son, block everything, do not respond. It's not worth it. All I wanted was my son to graduate without being deemed a racist. And unfortunately, many students, white, of color, any color, can't wait to get out of Verona High School. And you know what? That is pretty sad. I sit up here as a graduate of Verona High School. And to me, that is very sad. We need to do better as a community. And I am not saying we do not bring DEI into our schools to help every student. The ones that came here Tuesday, the ones that are in the audience tonight, the ones that spoke, any student. We protect every student in this community. We do not bring our politics or our personal beliefs into the classroom, period. Every staff member, administrator should realize that. Our students should believe and focus and whatever they want. It's their lives. So I will be voting no for Grand Rivers because I do not feel they are the right fit. They're not from here, and I do not believe they are the right fit for our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Prisco. Thank you. So I think we heard from a lot of people, and we over these past couple of months, this vote has been delayed. It's been put off. We have gotten dozens and dozens of emails, phone calls, text messages, and I agree wholeheartedly with Mr. Day. I think we've all really thought deep and hard about the situation and everything that we've heard from the community. And there are valid arguments and concerns on both sides. I agree with Mr. Waka when he says that this is recommendations. To have a third-party consultant come in and gather data and look at data, and they might look at us and say, you guys are doing a really good job. Keep up with what you're doing. They might say there's some cracks in the floorboards. You might want to look at this area and perhaps you can do better here. So to have an objective person come in and give us an evaluation, I don't see any reason not to do that. So I think, as board members, we've all had an opportunity to speak and think on it. I truly am thankful for every email and comment and students and teachers and community members who have participated and reached out to us, because although sometimes the perception is we're not listening or you're not being heard, we are listening and you are being heard, and they're very, very difficult decisions. And Mr. Day, you hit the nail on the head. This is my 8th year as a board member, one of the most difficult decisions. And we have our 2 biggest decisions. We have this difficult decision, and we're also going to announce our new superintendent, all wrapped up into the same night. So it's really an emotional night. And at this point, I think, Mr. Cruz, you can call for the vote on this resolution.
Thank you. Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mr. Day,
No.
Mrs. Drappi,
Yes.
Mrs. Prisco,
No.
Mrs. Fresky.
Yes,
We have quorum. Motion passed.
thank you. We're going to move on with the rest of our resolutions. I need a motion to accept resolutions number through to 6. Number
Two.
2, number 2 through 6. I'm
So
sorry.
moved.
Moved by Mrs. Drappi,
Second.
second by Mrs. Prisco. Any discussion on 2 through 6?
I just wanted to ask Mr. Cruz to just speak about the utility contracts and thank him for his work on that. If you can just speak to that. And then I guess if you can also touch upon the beginning of the search for more sustainable methods of energy for our district as well. I know you've sort of gently started that process as well. Thank you.
Thank you. So for the first part, on resolution number 6 with aggressive energy, they actually came back from the bid as the most aggressive and the most competitive in rates. Currently, right now, we're paying about 91 cents per therm. This contract actually locks us in at 74 cents per therm. Right now, our buildings use about 211,000 therms a year. So the savings on that annually will be approximately $36,000. On the electric side, we locked in with Constellation Energy, and that is at 7 cents per kilowatt hour. And this is also with the capacity and transmission costs being passed through. What that means is it's not an entire fixed rate. The other portion of the rate is actually determined by the Board of Public Utility. Normally that's right now around 5 cents. So if adding that 7 cents in the 5 is around 12 cents per kilowatt hour. Basically what we're anticipating is that the Board of Public Utility is going to actually announce rate changes for the month of June for the new year, and that will most likely go down. So right now, the anticipation of the annual savings, we use about 1.8 million kilowatts hour annually. And the cost savings alone, if it's actually 1 cent, that's actually $18,000. So it could be anywhere between $18,000 and $50,000 in cost savings there. So both of them will actually, is a start. Going back to your question about sustainable energy, that's something that I'm actually a big proponent for. So I started looking into that, and it's going to be part of the facilities committee to look at sustainable energy, whether it's solar, and to see what the options that we have, and also in the alignment with Verona, sustainable Verona as well. So that's something that I'll work closely with the finance and facilities committee and operations moving forward.
So no matter what, this is a cost savings, no matter what.
Correct.
Very good.
I want to thank you, Mr. Cruz, for going above and beyond again to try to save the district some dollars. And it's a good chunk of change with between the natural gas and the electricity savings. So And what about those paper clips that you were talking about from last meeting when you were doing that copy renewal?
Yeah.
So,
So this is just the start.
okay.
Thank
good.
you.
Any other discussion? Mr. Cruz, can you do the roll call?
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mr. Day,
Yes.
Mrs. Drappi,
Yes.
Mrs. Prisco,
Yes.
Mrs. Fresky.
Yes.
We have quorum. Motion passed.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And then I think the moment we've all been waiting for is our addenda resolution. And we have one resolution on our addenda item. And it is resolved that the board appoint Ms. Diane DiGiuseppe as the superintendent of schools for the Verona district for a term effective on July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2027, as per contract at a starting salary of $220,000. I need a motion to accept.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Drappi.
Second.
Second by Mr. Day. And is there any discussion here? If not, we will move right to the vote on that.
Mr. Walker,
Absolutely, yes.
Mr. Day,
Maybe. No. Yes. Yes. I like you. I like. Yes.
Wouldn't be a board meeting
Mrs.
without you, Jim.
Drappi,
Emphatic yes.
Mrs. Prisco,
Yes.
and Mrs. Fresky.
Absolutely, yes.
We have quorum. Motion passed. Thank you.
Excellent. So I want to say a couple of words before I invite Ms. DiGiuseppe to the podium. This is a really exciting evening for Verona Public Schools. It's been said many, many times over that as a Board of Education, we have only one employee. And the hiring of a chief school administrator is the single most important action that any board can undertake. Our journey began last summer when we received the resignation letter from Dr. Dionisio, and we were quickly able to retain an interim, Dr. Fernari. It's been wonderful for us to lead our district while we as a board worked with a recruiting firm to assist us with our search for a permanent successor. On behalf of the entire board, I want to thank our whole community at large and the various stakeholders for participating in the many, many focus groups that guided the development of the leadership profile. That profile became the basis of our recruiting and interviewing process. The challenges and strengths that were identified, along with the vision of where the community wants to head, became the roadmap during our search. We had a very highly qualified pool of candidates, and through a thorough and deliberate process with the help of HYA, we unanimously concluded that Ms. Diane DiGiuseppe was the right person to take Verona to the next level. Ms. DiGiuseppe has been in public education for 29 years and considers herself a fierce advocate for students. She started her career as a teacher of biological and environmental science for Livingston High School in 1993. In 2001, she joined the Livingston administrative team of supervisor of science. She enjoyed leading a nationally recognized science education program for 7 years. In 2008, looking to expand her experience to a district administrative role, she joined Kinnelon Public School District as the Director of Curriculum and Instruction, where she played an integral role in revamping curriculum and instruction across the district. In 2012, she assumed the position of Superintendent of Schools. Over the past 14 years, she has worked hard to improve outcomes for the students of Kinnelon. Among achievements that are too numerous to list here, highlights include their partnerships with Columbia University Teachers College Reading and Writing Project and with Learning Sciences International, two institutions of educational research designed to help educators improve student achievement through their own growth and development. She revamped the science curriculum and instruction in kindergarten through 12th grade, adding coursework in authentic science research, participation in Rutgers University Wakeman Student Scholarship Program, a 4-year program in aviation and aeronautics, and Allied Health Academy, and offered students the only opportunity in New Jersey to participate in Barcode of Life. Ms. DiGiuseppe is a graduate of Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey Cook College, where she earned a Bachelor of Science in Natural Resource Management and Applied Ecology Wildlife Biology. Nova Southeastern University, where she earned a Master's of Teaching and Learning, and the New Jersey Expedited Certification for Educational Leadership through the Foundation for Educational Administration, where she earns her School Administrator Certificate. Additionally, she has studied at the Howard Hughes Medical Institute at Princeton University, Montclair State University, and Caldwell College for various certificate programs. On a personal note, Ms. DiGiuseppe is the proud parent of a 24-year-old son, Peter, who recently graduated from Keene College. Congratulations to you. And she's engaged to Roberto Dominguez, a teacher of mathematics. When she's not running the school district, she loves cooking for her family, visiting Walt Disney World with family and friends, and she looks forward to getting to know all of our staff, our students, and the families of Verona. And Diane is extremely excited to join the Verona educational team. Welcome to you. I'm so happy to be here. I welcome you to come up and say a couple of words. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. This is a really exciting night for me. Bittersweet. I've been in Kinnelon for a very long time, 14 years of my life. But I just want to individually thank you, Mrs. Fresky, Mrs. Prisco, Mr. Day, Mrs. Drappi, Mr. Watcher, Mr. Cruz, and Dr. Fernari for walking me through this program of interviewing and being a part of your search. It was you should be credited with the level that you dove into finding someone to take this role and move Verona forward. The interview process shows how clearly you wanted to find someone with the experience and drive and determination to continue to move Verona forward. I feel like I've been practicing that for the past 14 years in Kinnelon, so I can certainly apply my skills. So the most important thing that we know about moving student achievement is teacher in the classroom, right teacher in the right classroom, right principal in the right building. So what my role here as a servant leader is to make sure that that's happening and that can happen for our kids. So superintendents set the stage for success. And I consider myself, as I said, a servant leader, one who'll strive to serve the students, families, and staff of Verona Township. And I hope to quickly earn their respect. I think my dedication to education, as you said earlier, Mrs. Fresky, I am a fierce advocate for kids. And it's been a vocation for me. So I am so proud and so unbelievably happy tonight to join you, and we'll get set up and start meeting people and doing meet and greets, and look forward to just being a part of this great community. Thank you.
Does anybody have anything they'd like to add or to say?
So I'd like to congratulate you for this position. It's a tremendous, tremendous responsibility because, these are our kids and this is our town. And, we need someone to do an excellent job. We all felt strongly that you were the ideal candidate that we met. You really shined, especially when we met you in person, because it was more personal than, just meeting you in Zoom. But this is everything to us. So we need the most from you. So thank you and good luck.
I like to make a comment. One of the issues I had with the new superintendent was that we were doing a Zoom meeting with her, and she has this giant clock on the wall, and it was broken, and it wouldn't move the whole interview, and it was driving me crazy. So when she came first and face to face in person with us, before she left, I said, "Can you fix your clock?" Because it annoyed the blank out of me. So, but at the end of the day, it was a pleasure meeting you. We had a lot of great candidates. You fell to the top, and I'm very happy to have you on board. Very excited to have you work with the district. I was involved in hiring the previous superintendent, so I was happy to be able to still be on the board to make sure that we have a great superintendent moving forward. So welcome. And fix the clock.
I would just like to, Mr. Day is our comedian, as you can see. But congratulations and welcome to Verona. And we are all here to support you and we're looking forward to having you aboard. So thank you.
Okay, at this point in the meeting, we are going to open the podium again to public comments on any topic. So anybody wishing to approach the podium, please do so.
Greetings, Verona. My name is Peter Hughes. I live at 30 Faison Lakes Road in Kinnelon, New Jersey. I visit Verona tonight to congratulate your board on an outstanding decision. I'm a colleague to Diane, serving as a superintendent, but I've also had the pleasure of working beside her, first in Livingston as a supervisor. I was a vice principal at the time, and then in Kinnelon as she served as superintendent. I was the vice president of the Board of Education. It is my pleasure this evening to share with you my appreciation for who Diane is and what she's accomplished in our district. While it's bittersweet to lose such a great administrator from Kinnelon, I'm thrilled that she will continue her mission of serving children here in Verona. First and foremost, Ms. Giuseppe is a student advocate. She brought in Care Plus for clinical counseling when she realized students were struggling with emotional issues beyond the classroom. When they struggled with at-home learning 2 years ago, due to the pandemic, she found a way to give students full days of in-person instruction starting September 1st of 2020. Yeah, almost the entire state could not say that. Kinnelon could. When almost the entire state was part-time and virtual, Kinnelon kids were going to full days of instruction. In order to protect the health of the teachers and students, she set up a community COVID testing every week to make sure that people knew their status and could protect their neighbors. When people were fearful to help out at that clinic, Diane showed up. She sat and checked people in at the clinic every Wednesday afternoon. She is a servant leader. She leads from the front. Ms. Giuseppe is a role model for other superintendents. She served on the Morris County Association of School Administrators in almost every leadership role, including the president during COVID. Because of her work in that realm, a number of superintendents have actually nominated her as Superintendent of the Year for NJASA. Something she doesn't talk about because she's humble, but it is something that is true. Mostly, Ms. Giuseppe is an instructional leader. She's been integral in bringing more AP and college credit programs to Kinnelon than any time in our history. She established the AP Capstone program, one of the first schools in the United States to do so. She not only led the Kinnelon schools, but she also led all programs, including for those students that needed the special programs of G&T, of 504, INRS, all students. Even during the pandemic, she had an eye on the academics. Her Start Strong scores were strong, and they demonstrated that Kinnelon remained competitive. These are all due to her passion, commitment, and tireless work. Finally, Ms. Giuseppe is an excellent leader. She communicates honestly and directly. You know where you stand as a board and community. She addresses problems head on, using data and with integrity. One of the things I respect the most about her is her honesty. What she says, you can trust. And in summation, I just wanted to congratulate the Verona Board of Education, the students, and the faculty. You did an excellent job in finding a new superintendent. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes. Are there any more public comments? No, if not, we're going to close public comments and adjourn the meeting. I need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Waka, second by Mrs. Drappi. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The meeting is adjourned. It is 8:05 and our next meeting is April 5th. So we will see you here in a